Thank you for pressing start on this episode of Underplayed, KZUM's indie video game podcast. Today, we have 2 secret games, followed by a review of our featured game, WEBFISHING. Here on Underplayed, we review indie games of all kinds, the games with small budgets but big hearts, the lesser-known experiences with imaginative ideas. My name is Emily, I also go by Egg, and joining me today, we'll never say sayonara to this wild heart. She's popping in the cartridge and pressing start. She'll prove to you that indie games are art. She's our audio engineering, what the car steering, even better than awesome. It's Cater Blossom. What is going on, Kate?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I've got my tambourine, some colas from the vending machine, and I'm ready to meet you at the dock, Eggabell.
It's great to be here reeling in some huge crayfish with you, my tender-footed feline friend. Those are references to our featured game, WEBFISHING. Kate, how the heck are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Eggabell. It's great to see you. I'm so excited to share my secret game with you when we get there. And yeah, I'm just ready for anything. Anything could happen at KZUM, so...
So true. You know, I can't believe we've been doing this for what, nigh on 5 years or so?
4 years, 5 years, it's all the same.
4 to 5? You know what? Feels like the very first day. Before we move on, if you're listening to Underplayed right now, thank you, and we love you. If you haven't already, please consider giving us a follow and a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It should only take a few seconds, and we'd really appreciate it. And if you have a friend who likes indie games, maybe share our podcast with them too. And now, it's time for our secret games.
Secret games that you're playing. Secret games. Secret games.
In this segment, we each review one indie game that we've been playing in secret since our last episode. We do not discuss our picks in advance, keeping them a surprise for this very moment. Any indie game can be chosen as long as we haven't reviewed it before.
I know you're playing without me. I know you're playing without me, 'cause I've been playing too. Secret games. Secret games.
Cater Blossom, let the mystery be no more. Reveal your secret game for this episode of Underplayed.
My secret game is Here Comes Niko.
And this can be in the episode, I just want to say I'm astounded that I have never heard of this game, was not aware of this game. This looks incredible. This is so cute. What a fun trailer.
It's really so cute, and I do have to give credit where credit is due. As you know, here on Underplayed, I like to find synergy between my secret game and the featured game. So
I know that. I know that so well.
So I did seek some outside help for some possible secret games. So thank you, Bopo, for the recommendation for this secret game. Here Comes Niko is a cozy 3D platformer for tired people. And in this game, you play as Niko, a youngster traveling across beautiful islands and helping residents as part of Niko's job interview process to become a professional friend. Your boss is a charming little frog named Pepper, who takes you to each island via train, where you'll complete various tasks and puzzles like catching fish, planting flowers, snagging bugs, and collecting cassette tapes, coins, and apples. Once you help enough residents and collect enough items, you unlock the next part of the map. Any initial thoughts, Eggbell, on the secret game? You said you hadn't heard of it, but what do you think after watching the trailer?
It looks so charming. Visually, it reminds me a lot of Mika and the Witches
Mountain.
Mountain that just came out a couple of months ago. And the frogs are so cute. I'm completely bamboozled that this was not on my radar whatsoever.
Same, actually. And I'm so happy that I got to play it for my secret game because, yeah, well, you'll find out in just a minute. But this game released on August 3rd, 2021. It's developed by Frog Vibes and published by Gears for Breakfast, which are both iconic developer and publisher names. So I will say, on the surface, it obviously sounds pretty cozy, but without spoiling anything, I do want to mention that Niko has left mom and dad at home to find themselves and a place where they actually feel at home. So there's something deeper going on here, even though most of the time you're kind of bopping around on giant beach balls and bouncing to extraordinary heights from inflatable donuts that sit inside a beautiful aqua blue swimming pool. And while this game is pitched as a cozy and tired platformer, they certainly did not take that approach when it comes to actually designing and executing the platforming. It's constantly towing this beautiful line between tight, flexible, precise, and bouncy, and the platforming mechanics shine very effortlessly. So I'm really excited to tell you what I loved about this game.
I love that. I love bouncy any bouncy platforming. I'm in
I
for.
love bouncy. I love go bounce. So things that I liked about Here Comes Niko. The bright colors and combination of 2D and 3D style are really charming. As you can see, it's kind of got that Paper Mario look with the characters. So the characters and Niko are 2D, but all of the world and environment are 3D, which I thought was really cool. It makes for environmental design that's very fun to look at. For example, there's one town that's full of giant wind turbines and bubblegum pink shipping containers, which apparently are there because the residents of the town ordered so many snacks that they had to be delivered in shipping containers. So, along with the visual design, Niko has shiny blue eyes and unkempt yellow hair, and their pink t shirt matches perfectly with their short black jeans. And it really fits into the world of the game perfectly, like Niko's character design. The music is uplifting and emotional, but it also sounds similar to what you might hear while tending to your flowers in Animal Crossing. And the sound effects really scratch my brain in a real good way. And I loved hearing the sounds of splashing, bouncing, gliding, and the twinkly sound cue of finding a collectible. And since I'm talking about collectibles, I just do want to say that the game does an amazing job at offering them, but it does not require that you collect everything. But if you collect many of the cassette tapes that are kind of in hard to reach places while you're platforming, you can exchange them for coins to make your way to the next island, which means you can skip some of the quests and puzzles. I do think a collector would have a really satisfying time getting everything this game has to offer. The only mechanics in this game are jumping and diving, but you can also use the jumping and diving to swim in the water and catch fish. So I just had a really good time, like kind of walking on water, just bouncing all over the water. And every time you jump, it makes a sound effect. So you're getting like a little whoosh or like a splash when you jump through the water. And so part of the reason why I picked this is because of the fishing synergy with web fishing. So the fishing mechanic in this game is very unique and very delightful. So the fisherman is the same on every level and island that you go to in this game, but the fisherman does not have a hook. So you as Niko literally attach to the fisherman's pole and you jump into the water to catch the fish like as Niko.
That's the last thing I expected you to say just now. Okay, great.
It's
I'm
very
here for it.
charming. Yeah, and I found this, like I said, just really charming and unique as far as fishing mechanics go. But the thing is, if you like fall into the water and you don't catch anything, you just are automatically, the second you fall into the water, you're automatically like taken back to the fisherman and you have to attach to him again and jump into the next area to catch your fish. Um, but yeah, I just found that that mechanic was very very funny, and I really enjoyed the fishing in this game. So I mentioned that it's a platformer, but there is no health, no damage, and no bosses. There are certain things you can do at each island that remain consistent across all of the levels. So, for example, if you collect 30 bugs, Blessy the porcupine will eat them all and give you a coin in exchange. And you're sort of collecting the coins on each island. You have to collect a certain amount of coins to unlock the next level and get to the next area. And there are 6 different areas. So the controllers are super tight, and this is probably one of the most satisfying platformers that I've played. They absolutely nailed the difficulty level because it's super chill and relaxing, but there's definitely moments where you have to lock in and sort of try again. Bouncing and gliding to the next platform or checkpoint is fun and forgivable, and I loved bouncing on things that were 100 times my size. It was really fun. There was also one moment that I want to mention. I was playing this game at work, which I don't recommend playing games when you're supposed to be working, but I was having a rough day. I was really tired. So I was playing this on my Switch at work, and there's this moment in one of the levels where you probably saw it in the trailer where you can get inside a giant hamster wheel and bounce all over the place.
Oh yeah.
And so when I got into this giant ball, hamster ball, I something came over me and I was just so delighted. Like I was laughing and I was like, "Tyler, you have to look at this. Terry, look at this." So my coworkers were there and they got to play the game as well and jump around the island as Niko in the hamster hamster wheel. So there's just a lot of charming things in this game that kind of reinforce that bouncing and jumping mechanic. So I was really, really happy to come upon these items because they really do come as a surprise. Like you'll just be exploring, trying to complete a quest for a character, and then oh, there's a giant hamster ball. I wonder what happens if I get inside. So makes it very hilarious and fun. And I also want to touch on the narrative because I really liked that as well. It's important, and the dialogue is very clever and funny with lovable characters. I love that the game is short. It took me about 5 hours to play, and I love that it reminded me of other games that I love, like Smile for Me, Banjo Kazooie, and it has that look of Paper Mario, which I've never played, but I do really like that aesthetic. There's also a Tamagotchi minigame, so that's really fun because who doesn't love a Tamagotchi minigame? So those are my main likes about Here Comes Niko. I do want to touch on a couple things that I didn't like, but by a couple I mean just actually one thing because I really liked this game. I think a bit of the tasks felt repetitive at times, but each level put their own spin on the repeating quests, puzzles, and mechanics that stayed interesting. And there are so many fun secrets to discover on each of the 6 islands. Like, you might go behind a waterfall. Everyone has to go behind the waterfall in video games, right? And then all of a sudden you're in a different world. So I really loved uncovering all of these surprises, and I just had such a great time with Here Comes Niko.
So I'm curious because I love the sort of high level pitch they're giving this as like the cozy platformer for tired people as a tired person TM. I that is very appealing sounding to me, but I'm curious like how you feel like that concept played out. What would you say makes this a game for tired people? Does it the narrative touch on that
No,
or
I would say the narrative doesn't really touch on that. I think, and I don't even know if I agree that it's for tired people, but as a tired person, was very tired while playing this game. I was very engaged, but not to the point where I was like doing what I normally do when I play platformers, which is like clutching my controller for dear life and like having my whole body be tensed up and like sweating. So maybe that's kind of what they mean by that. It's just so satisfying because those only mechanics are jumping, and you also get like a dive. So you press A to jump and I think X to dive. So you can kind of dive dash while you're in the air to help you like get to the next platform. Um, but yeah, it just I was really impressed with how they were able to mechanically make it feel so engaging, but also not super hard or stressful. And the
hmm.
platforming is just so tight. But at the same time, it's super forgiving. So like if you're jumping off of like like there's all these like giant beach umbrellas, and if you jump on one, it makes like a whoop sound and you're flying up in the air. And then you might see a building from there where there's like a rock, like a rock climbing rock to latch onto. And there would be times where like I wasn't super close to that rock, but I was close enough and my character would just latch on. So I think that they're forgiving on purpose with the platforming, so you don't have to be like extremely precise. Um, there is one platforming level that honestly felt like a sort of like a boss platforming area to me, where you have to do some more intricate and challenging timing based platforming challenges. But man, my heart
Hmm.
was soaring during that whole area because everything is so beautiful. Like it's like very pink and green, and there's waterfalls and magical music and colors, and you're having to sort of escape these like scissors that like are shooting in all directions at you. um
Everything you say about this game, it's like I think I start to build an understanding of what's going on, and then something surprises me. I love
it's
this.
so
Sorry, continue.
surprising. No, it really is so surprising. Like I just was totally enthralled, but I do think that it is a cozy game. It's just I don't think I've ever played a game that like balances these elements so well, honestly. Because it wasn't so easy that I was just like, oh, I can just breeze through all of the islands. Like there were times where I did have to look stuff up, and there are even some puzzles in here that are kind of difficult for my brain. Um, but yeah, there's also like this on some of the levels there's this arcade machine, and if you dive into it with like the dive button, you'll be transported into a different world where everything's more pixel art colored and um styled, and you have to collect all these bones for a dog. And it's just like the characters are so funny, and I just love that the whole purpose of Nico's journey is to become a professional friend. And that Nico is making friends along the way, through helping people on these islands. Like that's what really reminded me of Smile for me, was that you meet different characters and you have to help them to unlock another area, which is basically the same exact gameplay as Loop, sort of as Smile for me, but it just has way more platforming and it's a little more wholesome. So
I'm curious too about the fishing, partly just because we're talking about web fishing,
yeah.
and the mechanic you described sounds, like you said, really, really unique. Did you find it? How did you find it? Did you find it satisfying? It sounds like there's not really any reeling in
Yeah,
mechanic or control. It's more of like an aiming
exactly.
system.
It's
Okay.
aiming and platforming because it's different. So you have to fish on every island, but the way that you do that is on every island is the same mechanic, but we'll just ask something a little bit differently of you every time. So for example, one of the islands is at this like giant pool, swimming pool area. So you have to go up on the high dive and connect to the fishing pole because the fisherman guy is up there. And he's like, oops, all the fish are in the swimming pool. We got to get those out. Niko, like, can you help? So then you have to connect to his fishing pole and then platform down to the second highest diving board and then the lowest diving board and then jump on top of the fish. And then the second you hit the water, it just pulls you back up with the fish if you catch one, like if you land on top of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's wild. That's really interesting. Did you like that? Did you find that
I
satisfying?
did. I think that there was one particular level early on, or island. I'm saying level and island interchangeably, but there was one that was very difficult where I could not land on the right, because you see where the fish is because it's like kind of popping up out of the water, where I could not land on the correct fish to save my life. So that took me a little while. But for the most part, I just thought it was so funny because each time you come back up from the water, if you didn't catch anything or if you caught like trash, the fisherman will be like, oh, you didn't get it, but we're really not in a hurry. So it's fine. Like you'll get it eventually. um, so like nothing is urgent. But it does feel like there are stakes, especially because each time you get through an island to go to the next one, you get on a train, and that's the time where you learn about Nico and their story and get sort of like a cutscene
Oh.
about why they're on this journey and kind of what their experience is like and why they left home. So it does kind of pull you from like really wacky, fun, bouncy gameplay mechanics to like a sort of story that will kind of like tug at your heartstrings. So I was really invested. I love how they balance those two things.
That's cool. I love that. really like when the narrative is kind of your reward and motivation for doing everything else. That's
It was
great.
just so fun.
Well, I love that you picked this. I love now I want to go play
I think you
this.
would love it.
I'm gonna add it to
I
my
really
wish
want you to
list.
play. I think you would absolutely love it.
Cool. Well, Kate, the time has come. I want to hear, unless you have anything more you want
I
to
don't think so.
share about.
I hope not. So overall, Here Comes Niko is a delightful and colorful platformer with great music, engaging mechanics that pair perfectly with its endlessly interesting art style. I was surprised at how much Niko's story captured my heart because I really wasn't expecting it. The characters were cheesy, charming, and clever, and I never tired of what they had to say. This game kind of snuck up on me, and I really wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, but the narrative theme of going on a journey to find where you belong, helping others, and getting a job as a professional friend is one that my tender heart simply cannot resist, especially if I'm making my way there in a giant hamster wheel. This will probably earn a spot in my top 20 indie games of all time, and it was nice to play something that was so sincere and enjoyable that really scratched my platforming itch in a larger than life sort of way. I'm giving Here Comes Niko a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow. Oh my God. Coming out of obscurity into the top 20. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think I already said this, but it's available on Switch and Steam, and I did play it on Switch, and it was great on the Switch.
Awesome. Love a handheld cozy experience. Now it's time for my secret game. My secret game for this episode is called Penko Park.
Dude, I want to play this so bad. What the heckers?
So, Penko Park was released in 2020. This is a photography based creature collector developed and published by Ghost Butter. And if you're saying to yourself, photography based creature collector, that sounds a little bit like Pokemon Snap. That's because that's exactly what this is. This is a Pokemon Snap like, with weird, creepy, crawly vibes. Um, Kate, what was your impression of the trailer just now?
Well, the first thing I thought of was cave hikers. Like I was like, "Oh, the
Oh, yeah,
music, the art
yeah.
style." But actually my second thought was like, "I have to play this right now."
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Oh,
Um,
and I also want to say I've never heard of this game before, so I
you
think it's really
haven't, I was
cool.
really curious whether you would have.
Yeah, neither of us heard of our secret games. That's amazing.
I love that. So the game synopsis from the Steam storefront reads, and it's very short. Snap pictures of spooky creatures and explore an abandoned wildlife park. And that's what you get. So in this game, you ride a cart through an abandoned wildlife park, guided by a little guy, gender neutral little guy, named Penky. Penky introduces the park to you as having been established in 1952 by Sir Rubertus Penko. Penky also reminds you before your first ride through the park to grab your complimentary Penko Snap-a-Lot 9000 camera. As you ride through the pre-established route in your little cart, which everyone will be familiar with how that goes if you've played Pokemon Snap, you can snap photos of all manners of strange and bizarre creatures in their natural habitat. This game is filled with freaky little guys and weirdos, complimentary, and many of the creatures you see have almost a sinister aspect to them in their character design. And Penke occasionally warns you of dangerous wildlife or areas in the park, too, which has been presumably shut down for many years now. After each ride, the photos you've taken get assessed and they get added to your photo album. You get points for each photo and other collectibles that you can find that you take, and then the points level you up to unlock upgrades to your camera, your cart, new abilities, and new areas to explore. There are various paths you can take through each little biome. You're always on a set track, but you can choose often between two directions at a fork in the road. So there's a lot of motivation. In fact, there's a requirement that you go back and visit areas multiple times to see everything. And at the pace the cart goes to, plus the various paths, you just can't possibly see everything or capture every possible, photo moment in a single run through a given area. You can also choose to hear additional bits and pieces of the park's lore from Penko, which they tell you in a very matter-of-fact way, but often points to possible sinister goings on and even mistreatment of the wild Penkos throughout the park's history by its founder. So yeah, it's cute and weird and a little unsettling at times.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll tell you my likes about this game. First and foremost, I love the vibes. This game is weird, creepy, and a little unsettling, but for me, it never hit a point where it was outright scary in any way. Even though you're out in nature most of the time, you also get moments that give that strong feeling of being in an abandoned theme park, which I really love, and adds to the eerie vibes. I think that the game offers a lot of quality of life upgrades from the traditional gameplay of Pokemon Snap, which I really appreciate. I love Pokemon Snap, but there were a lot of moments where I could point to things and go, oh, thank goodness they added this or they changed this. So, one thing that I really liked is that your photos get scored as soon as you take them on the ride.
Oh,
So
no way.
right? So you don't have to wait for Professor Oak to come back and be like, "Oh, this is
Oh, he
wow, what
talks for
a."
so long.
Yeah, and you have no idea. So because your photos get scored immediately, you can know in the moment, oh, should I try to snap a better shot of this guy right now? Or did I get kind of the best score I can get? They get scored 1 to 3 stars. And there
Oh,
are various poses or like photographable photograph photographable moments that each species of Penko kind of experiences. You want to get different angles, different like sometimes they'll be sleeping, sometimes they'll be dancing, and you want to get a photo of every creature in every kind of state that it'll show you. I also really appreciated, this was huge for me. I really appreciated that you don't get docked on your points for interesting shot compositions that actually look good or
oh,
follow like photography rules of thumb, like the rule of thirds. Because in Pokemon Snap, a lot of your points come from the Pokemon being really large and centered, like symmetrically. And that always bothers me because I really like an asymmetrical shot. I like something that's a little artsy.
yeah.
And
Like
so a
my
lot,
Squirtle on a rock, just like off in the distance.
yeah, exactly. So you still do get more points if the creature takes up more of the frame, is like not obscured by, leaves or something. But if they're off center or whatever, if it looks kind of artsy, if it looks nice, you don't get points taken off for that. So that was a really big frustration for me in Pokemon Snap that was alleviated here, and just bless. I love that. There's a little diagram that shows you your progression through all of the abilities. So you level up, you gain these abilities, and unlock new areas of the park. And I like that you actually get to see what you're gonna unlock next, which kind of gives you motivation to keep going, and just gives you a sense of like, okay, this is what I'm gonna be able to do in the future in this game. I also think you unlock more useful upgrades to your cart than in Pokemon Snap, including
Mm.
eventually you get the ability to pause it for as long as you want, which is
Oh, cool.
huge. Yeah. I also just really love the art style. It feels a little bit like a slightly unnerving children's book.
Yeah, it's very like Where the Wild Things Are slash Coraline
Yes.
kind of.
Yeah, where the wild things are is what I was thinking
Yeah.
of. A lot of the creatures and the flora are two-dimensional in the game, even though the world is three-dimensional. Not really in a Paper Mario kind of way, though. It feels more like a children's book kind of vibe, and they're textured in this way that makes them look like illustrations that reminded me a little bit of Eric Carle, if you've ever read
I
like
love Eric
the
Carle.
very
I
hungry
love Eric Carle.
caterpillar and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, like the art, the texture, it just feels a lot like that, like his
Wow.
books. Yeah,
I have to play this game.
you gotta. Okay, you'll also really like my next point, which is that there are lots of fun and creepy sounds that accompany the various creatures, also your cart moving and your surroundings. So, like, you'll go under vines and you'll hear them kind of brushing over you. Sometimes you hear creatures that are coming up before you see them. And so it all creates this great atmosphere. It can make you feel a little bit uneasy at times too, which I appreciated for the vibes. I'm also really glad that we get little tidbits of the lore about the park. I was a little worried going into this that it was going to be a Pokemon Snap clone with Halloween vibes, but nothing else to it. But the little bits and pieces that you learn about Rubertus Penko and the park's history, I think leave just enough to the imagination to keep you curious and like wondering what happened here.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about the game. I have a couple dislikes. The first is that the menu system is a little bit unintuitive. I had a really hard time the very first time I was trying to choose to go back to an area and do a new ride. I couldn't figure out how to do that. The option is on a page in your photo album, which is not what I was thinking was going to be where I would find it. But eventually I figured it out, and it's fine. It's just it took me a second. You wind up unlocking a lot of tools and abilities, and similar to my experience of Pokemon Snap, because your cart is basically always moving, and the creatures you're trying to photograph sometimes only do a certain action for a really short period of time, I found myself fumbling around with the controls quite a bit and wound up missing opportunities because of just taking so long to figure out which tool to pull up, and using them sometimes takes a little bit of work. So that plus the timing made it a little frustrating at times. And then for anybody who gets motion sick during Pokemon Snap from the movement of the cart and then the 360 camera,
Me.
and
That's me.
yeah, this is the one thing. Unfortunately, I think you're probably going to run into the same issue here, at least
Hmm.
for most of the game until you unlock the ability to fully pause the cart. But that's like the second to last thing that you unlock. So I don't know what to tell you other than maybe try it and see if there's something different about like how the pace of the cart versus like the 360 camera and if that changes anything.
I think as I play more games, I'm getting a little bit better with the motion sick thing, but that was gonna be one of my questions. So good to know.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think there's not much around it. You do unlock the ability to pause for a short time, kind of halfway through the game maybe. So I think that could at least alleviate some so you're less worried about like pivoting the camera while you're in the cart.
Hmm.
The camera also like pivots pretty slowly, which I think is helpful and hurtful
Yeah,
sometimes because you miss stuff by taking so
I
long to
see.
look around
Hmm.
you. So so yeah, those are my likes and dislikes for Penco Park.
That's so cool. I have a couple questions. How long did it take you to play the game?
Oh yeah, it's quite well, okay. I was gonna say it's quite a short game, but that's just if you want to unlock all of the abilities. So that took me about 2.5 hours.
Okay, cool.
I think it would take most people 2.5 to 3 hours to unlock all of the abilities and all of the areas. That said, I probably only have no more than 50% completion on every area.
Okay.
So there's a lot to go back and discover. There are a lot of secrets. There are a lot of special kind of events or, things that creatures will do that you can capture on camera that are, you have to work pretty hard to do them. So, if anybody's worried about it being too short or replayability, there's a lot of content here. But as far as actually just like getting to what I think most people would consider like, being done or, completion, I'd say 2.5 to 3 hours.
Cool. And I feel like Similar to Pokemon Snap, are there moments where you're taking pictures that have multiple creatures in them, instead of just like having one as the main focus?
There are quite a few moments like that, but they don't necessarily get scored
Okay.
differently. I think some are special moments, but some it just counts as one creature or the other.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be really interesting to play a Pokemon Snap like this because Pokemon are so iconic and we know what they look like and what they are. So when we see them, we're like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a picture of that Blastoise or whatever." And there's some Corsola in the background. But I feel like with a game like this, it would be exciting to kind of figure out like what is that I'm looking at? Like which creatures am I collecting and are they all part of the objective or part of the same world? I don't know. It seems really cool to play a Pokemon Snap like without Pokemon as the main feature.
Yeah, it is. It's very fun, even to just try to figure out what is a
Mm-hmm.
creature. There were multiple times where I realized after the fact or on my second time through an area that like a little mound of dirt or pile of leaves actually was a creature and to
Ooh.
take a photo of it and that it could have its own other states. Something else actually that I forgot to mention too is that these creatures all have extremely delightful names, very similar to ooblets. And I wanted to read you a couple of
Please.
these names. We've got Akakai, Spink, Koik, Double,
Double.
Smole, Pirko. And then there are a couple that have like what sound like commonplace human
Like
names,
Kevin.
like Dave and Jeanette.
That's so funny. I feel like I was just gonna make the comment of like, oh, the names sound like they're all part of the same universe and the same vocabulary, but no, that's actually not the case.
Not all of them. There's also one that I have a lot of questions about that I discovered the name of the creature is, I think it was Rubertus,
Robertus.
which is the name of the founder of the park. So I have questions about that particular creature, how that came to be.
Whoa.
So there's a lot of interesting lore
I
here.
was also gonna say, like, just sorry, jumping back to the art style really quick, it also kind of
Yeah.
looks like Snufkin and miniatures a little bit with that like children's book style. There
Mm-hmm.
are these little creatures and miniatures that are like kind of disguised as a bush, like and I feel like I saw something in this game that sort of looked like that. So I'm just really intrigued by the art style. I'd really love to play this. And I know that you and I both love Pokemon Snap and we were really into the into it when the new one came out. So I'm just like thrilled. I didn't think about that being its own genre and having some indie takes on that genre. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I honestly love and really respect the fact that they basically just took Pokemon Snap as is and redesigned a little bit of it and then gave it a whole new aesthetic, whole new
Oh,
vibes.
I love
But
it.
the core gameplay, they really they left alone except for areas that they clearly like specifically wanted to improve on and I think they were
I
successful.
want to listen to the music too. I just feel like I have to play it soon.
I hope you do. I hope you're gonna really love it, I
Oh,
think.
that's awesome. I think those are all my questions.
Cool. So, overall, this game has excellent, creepy, unsettling vibes and the exact amount of world building that I was looking for. The creature designs are so fun. I love looking at these freaky little guys and weirdos, and I had a lot of fun snapping their photos. I found myself fighting with the controls a decent amount of the time, especially later on in the game, which was frustrating, but also felt like it's a little bit inherent to the Pokemon Snap style
Mm-hmm.
gameplay. So I think this is overall a great game. It didn't change my whole life or my world. I'm going to rate it a 7.5 out of 10, which in my book is still a really great rating. And I really recommend that folks check this game out. And this game is playable on PC and Nintendo Switch.
I love it. I'm so glad that you turned me on to this secret game. I'm really excited to check it out.
I had a delightful time playing this.
It's cool that our secret games had synergy of being like 2D, 3D.
Yeah, and creature collectors.
Dude, yeah, and also we need the Ooblets Pokemon Snap stat.
Oh my god, we do. Those are our secret games. Here comes Niko and Penko Park. Let's move on now to our review of Web Fishing. It is our featured game. Web Fishing is a 2024 online multiplayer fishing game developed and published by Lame Developer. That is the developer's chosen name. I'm not being
Chosen
rude.
name.
Just want to put that out there. The game synopsis from the Steam storefront reads, quote, Web Fishing, a multiplayer chat room focused fishing game. Relax and fish on the web. End quote. In web fishing, you play as a bipedal dog or cat of your own design. You run around a peaceful island either by yourself or with pals online, and primarily you go fishing. And there's really not much more story or setting to it than that. You get to know a couple of the island's inhabitants who run the stores, and there are some hidden secrets and mysteries to uncover. But other than that, most of the experience of web fishing is kind of what you make it. You run around, you hang out with friends, you go fishing. Kate, would you like to take us through some of the gameplay of web fishing?
Sure thing. And I do really feel like the title of the game says it all here. But the web fishing mechanics are pretty minimal. For the most part, you'll be fishing and chilling with your buds, but you can upgrade tools like rods and bait to catch bigger and better fish, which you will then sell your catch for more in-game currency. And with your currency, you can buy things like style upgrades, instruments, and better fishing equipment, and you can also level up by catching more fish. The actual fishing mechanic is very simple, using your mouse to cast a line and then clicking and holding to reel in your catch. You can play web fishing with friends or strangers, and there's also a chat room feature on the bottom left of the screen, so you can easily chat with buds while you catch some amazing fishies. Did I miss anything there, Eggabell?
I don't think so. I think one thing to note is that the fishing mechanic can be easier or harder, and I think it's based on the rarity of the fish that you're reeling in. So you click and hold, and then occasionally you have to mash your mouse button a few times, and it'll tell you how many times before you can continue reeling in.
Yeah.
And that can be most of the time very easy. Sometimes
hard.
Basically impossible for the level I was at.
Yeah, I also kept thinking of click holding while I was playing this game because I was like clicking the button so fast. So, you know.
I love that. Very different
Different
vibes. So a little bit on the history and significance of this game. While I don't think, well, it definitely didn't make a big narrative impact. And like you said, the mechanics are pretty simple, not hugely revolutionary. The game did kind of take the world by storm last year in 2024. There were a couple of months where it felt like I was seeing web fishing all over Twitch being streamed constantly by like small streamers, huge, famous streamers, everybody. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter and in Discords talking about it. It really felt like everybody kind of caught web fishing fever for a bit.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Yeah. Do you have any like specific memories of like that little web fishing revolution we are
I
on.
just remember thinking, like, seeing so many people play it and seeing the style of the game. I wanted to play it so badly at the time. I really, really wanted to play it, but it was just one of those things where I never had the time to. Um, but thinking the aesthetic looked like a lot of games that I like, and obviously the premise. I love fishing games and fishing mechanics in games and anything about water or the ocean. So I just remember having a lot of FOMO when this game came out. And I feel like you streamed it, didn't you? Like early on when it came out?
I tried to stream it within maybe about a month of it coming out. I actually ran into some technical issues with streaming it, and so I didn't get to play it a whole lot at the time. And I am really glad to get to return to it now.
Yeah. And just for everyone's context, we did play web fishing together and it was really fun.
It was delightful. I'm glad it was the perfect way to experience this
I
game.
agree.
So, Kate, would you like to share your thoughts on web fishing?
Absolutely. I feel like there is a lot to like about web fishing. I think that the visual design is very charming and the simplicity creates a lot of room for dry humor, which I love and really appreciate. I also really love the accurate looking fish. I remember vividly when you pulled that sunfish out of the water and I was next to you and I was like, "Oh, that must be a sunfish." So I like that they're being, pretty accurate with fish size and species. But the thought of collecting everything from like a little shrimp to a giant manta ray is really, really exciting to me. Just because I love fish, and also in this game you can sell your fish like we said earlier, but you can also put them in the aquarium and go look at them whenever you want. Um, so I really love that. I love that there's an aquarium so you can admire your fish. I also like that the game simulates just chilling with your buds so well. Like I feel like above anything, this is a game about the vibes. And as someone who likes to go fishing IRL, not even because I like fish, but because it is about the vibes. It is about like having a drink with your friends and being outside on a sunny day and just like getting in the water. And a lot of times I don't even catch anything, but I just love the atmosphere that fishing creates, especially when it's like a nice, fall, spring, summer day. So I really like how that game simulates that. And playing this with you just kind of, it really did feel like we were just out there fishing, but we were doing it on the web fishing, if you will.
On the web.
But yeah, as someone who loves those fishing mechanics, I'm really happy to be pleased with the fishing mechanics in this game. I just thought that it was really easy to pick up on. But you don't have it figured out right away. Like if you're catching a really big fish, it is going to be more challenging to reel them in. And you'll want to get some upgrades to sort of make that process easier. But yeah, I think it is really about the vibes. Like you can buy a six pack in the vending machine or at the little mart by the dock. You can buy scratch tickets. You can buy cigarettes. So I feel like this game really is leaning into the cool, chill vibes. And to me, that's what it's about more than anything is the chill vibe and spending time with your friends. So those are some things that I really loved about it.
I love that. Any dislikes about web fishing?
Yes, so just a couple. I feel like I would love to play with the controller, which I don't think is supported. I played with a mouse and keyboard. I did have a hard time remembering which keys to keep my fingers on to sprint because I like to go fast. And when your walking speed is pretty slow, there are these blue mushrooms that you can kind of jump on in the game, and they'll sort of rocket you into another area of the map. But my main dislike was just the controls and moving the camera. Because you kind of have to click and drag to move the POV, if that makes sense. Hopefully, I'm describing that correctly. So that was a little challenging for me to get the hang of, but I do feel like that's my only real dislike was just kind of navigating and moving around the camera. I think overall it's for what it is, and it really does feel like a scrappy little indie game that really took off, which I love.
Yeah, as far as I understand, web fishing was made by a solo developer, and actually it sounds like it was originally developed in about a week for a game jam and then kind of refactored for Steam to be able to actually support, all of the Steam capabilities and online multiplayer. So I agree. It feels like it's got that really like grassroots feel to it.
Grassroots, yeah. I feel like it is definitely jank, but it's so charming to me, especially given that there's like some funny dialogue in there. Like when you catch a flounder, it says, "Flounder, I hardly know her." And then they just keep repeating that joke over and over again if the fish ends with ER. Um,
Oyster, I hardly know her.
Anytime you catch a rainbow trout, it says something about the fish being gay. So, like, just over and over again. And I feel like they just committed to what they were able to do, like, with what they had. They were like, these are the vibes that we're going to put around this game. It's going to be kind of jank as well and very minimalist. But like I said, it really does create that great space for the dry humor and very specific vibes. So, I was really taken with it, honestly. And even though, you and I played together and I haven't played with strangers, I'd be willing to give it a try because the chat room feature is really fascinating to me, especially like because so many of us are playing games and meeting friends through online gaming mediums. I think that, I mean, what if some lifelong friendships have been formed via web phishing? It probably they have been.
I bet they have. I bet at some point we're going to get our first web fishing wedding,
Yeah,
you know?
we met on web fishing. Like, forget about
Yeah.
Tinder. We met on web fishing.
That'd be so cute. I love that.
But yeah, so I really didn't have many dislikes. And I honestly feel like the more that I play, because there isn't really a narrative or beginning or, well, there is a beginning, but there's not, I don't think there's really an ending to this game. I think you can just keep upgrading and playing and chilling with your buds. So yeah, given that, I think that I really didn't have much to complain about other than the um, confusing camera controls sometimes, but playing with you was really special, and I think like we both had a great time just chilling together. It really did feel like we were just chilling and fishing together. It was great.
Yeah, I agree. Are you prepared to give your overall thoughts and rating of web fishing?
Yes, I also just want to say, I don't know if I said this already, but you can buy instruments, and I bought a tambourine, and that was really fun. So anytime I have the opportunity to make a noise in the game, I really like that too. Oh, and one more dislike is that I wish there were more music because the music that is there is lovely, and it's this like beautiful acoustic guitar stuff, and I just found myself craving that and wanting that more. But overall, I think this is a really great game. I would have loved to be playing it at the peak of its popularity, but it's really nice to know that even though I missed that and I'm playing it, quite a while after it launched, that it still has the great vibes and that I can enjoy playing with you, Emily. And I feel like it might even be fun playing on my own, just being able to collect these fish. So I think that the game does stand out to me, and I do love a fishing mechanic. So I think given that, I'm going to give web fishing a rating of 8 out of 10.
Amazing, Kate. I love that. And I think a lot of my thoughts will echo yours as well. First off, I absolutely get why so many people were taken with this game when it first came out. It's so simple. It's got simple controls for the most part and very simple premise. An incredibly small world map, and yet it feels very immersive in a very chat room-esque way. I don't know what it was, whether it's the graphics or the simplicity of the concept, but it really does feel a little nostalgic and take you back to the days of like text-based chat rooms.
Yeah.
There are very few games that I've felt compelled to just like hang out with people in. I know that a lot of people use like games like Minecraft, Palia, or even World of Warcraft in this way as kind of a
Mm.
third space, just a
Mm-hmm.
hangout spot. But those have never really clicked for me. But somehow it does on web fishing.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that hanging out on the back porch, talking about
Mm-hmm.
nothing and everything kind of feeling to it, and I love that. So my likes, the one thing that this game needed to do really well was the fishing mechanic. And they nailed it. It takes just enough skill to make it interesting. You do have to like be aware of when to mash, the button mash. Um, but it's almost never super challenging, and it always feels fair based on how the difficulty is tied to the rarity of whatever fish you're catching. I think that they set up a great number of achievements and rewards that you collect on the little bulletin board, and they balance them really well, so you're pretty
Hmm.
consistently unlocking new ones as you play and level up, but never an incredible amount, and never, you don't go through like long spans of time, at least so far in my experience, without a couple of achievements popping up. Even though the map is very small, it still feels like there are a lot of secrets and mysteries to uncover for those who go off the beaten path or just who play a lot. And I started to uncover some of those toward the end of when we were playing together. The character customizations are really charming, and I really appreciate that there's a huge variety of cosmetic options. Because in a game that bills itself as being chat room adjacent, you definitely want to offer players a lot of personalization in how they present
Hmm.
themselves to each other.
Totally.
And I think they have such a great variety. They're so fun, a lot that are very unexpected and just really cute. Similarly, I love all of the props and items that you can purchase and use. You can get a chair that you can pull up and sit in wherever you are on the map. You can get a boom box. Like you said, the instruments. I really liked the lotto scratcher. I thought that was such a funny discovery to make, and the fact that it really works.
And I won
And
$25.
you won $25 on your little scratcher. And the little scratcher kind of mini game feature is really cute. Um, I just have to give huge props, no pun intended, to the guitar.
Yeah.
That is an item you can buy in this game, and I was totally blown away by this. I purchased one of the guitars because I got excited they were there, and I expected it to be mostly an aesthetic, like cosmetic
Hmm.
customization, and maybe you could use it to play a little like pre-recorded tune or something when you equip it. I was shocked when I pull it up, I equip it, and when using it, it opens up an entire menu, a totally new interface where you can define chords. You can set up a bunch of preset chords on a little fretboard and use the strings to strum out a tune.
I just realized we should have done Dexter Baby on that.
Oh
We can go
man,
back and
I
do it.
wanted to say I know I wanted to pull up God, it took me back to my days of playing the guitar and my guitar lessons and stuff. I wanted to try to pull up the chords for American Pie. That was one of the ones that I knew the best. But anyway, the guitar is like its own entire game within web fishing,
True.
and I was not expecting that at all. I was super impressed. And we explored a good bit of what there is in terms of different objects and items and stuff, but it does make me wonder how many other things there are that we haven't unlocked yet that are
That's what I
like
was just
this, that are
thinking.
these, right?
Yeah.
There are all these little surprise and delight moments that are very unexpected and really like refined, in terms of their
Hmm.
design.
Hmm.
It's super quick and easy to get into a lobby and start playing with people, which I really appreciate. And they offer a wide variety of settings that let you establish your own boundaries and preferences around how other people can play with you, which I think
Hmm.
is really important for an
Yeah.
online game like this. So you can set chat filters. You can turn on or off the ability for other players to do certain interactions with you, like being
Hmm.
pushed or jostled. Some of the things that might be jokey or fun to do with your friends, but might feel aggressive to have a stranger come up and do to you,
Hmm.
you can disable, which I think is really great and really smart of the developer to do. Now, a couple dislikes. Oh my God, I wish this game had controller support.
Yeah.
The not like I fully agree with what you said. The clicking and holding and dragging the right mouse button to move the camera around, because this is a third person. We didn't mention this, but it is a third person 3D game. It felt really clunky to move the camera around. And it just feels like the perfect game to sit back with your gamepad and play. So I'd really love to see controller support at some point. I know that that makes the chat features a little tricky to navigate, but they also have emotes that you could use in the stead of the actual text chat.
And you can
They're definitely,
sit. One of the emotes is sitting.
yeah, they're so cute. The emotes are they're well executed. They're really cute. There are definitely some stability issues at times. I had a really hard time streaming this game Although I know a lot of other people have done it, it crashed several times for me. It was just
Hmm.
a hassle to set up. And you could just tell in general that this game is a bit rough around the edges. Even though I find the island you play on very charming too, I can see myself getting tired of it over time. It is
Yeah.
really small. And it would be nice to have some other maps that you could choose from eventually.
Hmm.
Even if they were equally small, just a little bit of visual variety would be really nice. So yeah, those are my likes and dislikes for web fishing. Overall, I think this is a really simple game that knew what it was setting out to do and for the most part achieved those goals really well. They really nailed the fishing and the overall vibes, plus included a lot of surprise and delight moments. I love how much it gave me the feeling of actually hanging out with people, and it's just such a relaxing environment to spend quality time with friends in. There are times when I felt like it could use a little bit more polish, although I understand it was made by one person and I was a game jam game. It was never originally intended to reach the scale and scope that it did. And more than anything, I'm really hoping for controller support eventually. So, given all of that, I am going to rate web fishing a 7 out of 10.
Love it. I feel like the only thing left to do next is to play with Bopo and DiscoCola.
Oh, that would be great. I think you're so right.
We had a lot of fun moments playing together today, and I feel like at one point you were like, "We're gonna do this every time we hang out," because we really just had a blast, like catching fish together, getting funny screenshots, and it's fun because I feel like you played as a dog that looked like your dog, and I played as a cat that looked like my cat. Like you were saying earlier, there's so many great customizations for your character, which I know you love in a game, and I love too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the vibes are pretty immaculate here.
I agree. I think that playing web fishing could kind of upgrade like almost every online hangout. Like why just
Yeah.
stare at the Discord screen or I don't know, whatever people do when they're on like a voice call with people, like scroll or something. Like why
Yeah.
do that when you could be hanging out fishing, you know, popping open a cold soda from the vending machine, buying some bait, going out there, catching a manta ray bigger than your camera in the game.
Several moments where we caught fish that were larger, much larger than us, and it just kind of covers you up, and the other person's just standing there with a neutral look on their face. It's very funny. Like I just love the dry, like simple humor in it. It's so funny.
It's so good. I did want to ask you, have you ever had this experience of just like hanging out with somebody in a game
I
in
don't
this
think
kind
I
of way?
have. I really don't think I have. Like it did. I wish like I hope that I can play soon with strangers because I do love a chat room. Like I was I was really into AOL Messenger when I was younger and MSN Messenger and they were just such fun places for me and my friends to be. So I don't know. I feel like I've never been able to just do that in a game. So it was a really interesting experience for me and I've just so far just played with you, but I'd love to go and see what it's like because I feel like there's a lot of people still playing this game and probably, a lot of folks in there that I could chat with and see what happens.
Yeah, when we played earlier, I did see a lot of active servers up, like public servers. So
Cool.
it does seem like the community is alive and well, and I hope it stays that way.
Me too.
Um,
It's
yeah.
nice that things like this exist, especially to connect us in isolating times. I know you had mentioned, not on the air, but you had mentioned like, what if this came out when Animal Crossing came out? And I feel like that would have been wild because it really does provide a great opportunity to connect with other people, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I know that like Among Us really blew up in
That's right.
kind of COVID times, like lockdown times.
Hmm.
And I get why, but at the same time, I think for a lot of people, Among Us is such an intense game,
Yeah.
especially to play with strangers.
Hmm.
And this just, I really think if this had come out in 2020, I don't know, it really would have like blown up tenfold. And it did great
Hmm.
as is, but
It really
um,
reminds me a lot of Wide Ocean Big Jacket, just like with the vibe of it. Like it's like very
mm,
relaxed and chill, but very like funny and sincere too. So yeah, I think I would love to play this game with you, obviously more, but also with some of our other friends. I think it'd be great.
I agree. And it's funny too because I think that Animal Crossing New Horizons really tried to bring this experience to people. And I think, a lot of people who we know even used Animal Crossing this way, but I never felt compelled to. I never wanted to just hang out
Chill.
with people on each other's islands. And so I wasn't sure how like emotionally I was going to connect to web fishing, but it is a totally different experience to me.
You're right. It definitely is. And I feel like, I mean, getting a dodo code to go to someone's Animal Crossing Island is excruciating enough. I feel like this game made it really easy. Like, let's just plug and play. Like, let's go. So I really liked that about it and how easy it was for like me to get you into my web fishing game. And then
Yeah.
like I think another thing that makes it charming and approachable on that front is that like your name is displayed right above you. Like I can see a specific egg, I can see Cater Blossom, and we're just a dog and a cat out here having our colas, fishing and having a good time. And I just think that that's really really sweet.
I do too. Yeah. It's just a very charming game, and I'm glad it's out there.
I do feel like it did give me a lot of the same vibes as my secret game, so I hope that you'll check out Here Comes Niko because I really believe that you would love it.
It looks amazing. I definitely want to check it out.
And I can't wait to play what's the name of your secret game?
Penko Park.
And I can't wait to play Penko Park. So exciting to me that we had secret games that we didn't know about and that they had the synergy of blending 2D and 3D. That's really
I
exciting
love
to
that.
me.
That's our review of Web Fishing. You can play it on PC. Cater Blossom rated it an 8. I rated it a 7. That's the end of this episode of Underplayed. And if you didn't realize already, April Fools! Don't worry, Bopo and DiscoCola will be back for their next regular episode of Underplayed. If you enjoyed this episode, you might just enjoy the podcast that we actually co-host as well. Kate and I are the hosts of No Small Games, another indie game podcast where we do deep dive reviews of indie games, as well as monthly roundups where we talk about indie game news, what games and demos we've been playing lately, and more. You can find No Small Games on all major podcasting platforms and follow us on Bluesky and Instagram at No Small Games. You can find more Underplayed episodes at kzum.org/underplayed and on common podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Underplayed's music was composed by Jack Rodenberg. The art comes from Onimochi. Check out the show notes for this episode where you can find and follow us, me and Kate, and Bopo and DiscoCola across social media. Underplayed is on Bluesky, Instagram, and Threads. You can also find both ours and Bopo and DiscoCola's links below. All of us stream a variety of indie games on Twitch. You can find me, Emily, as A Specific Egg on Bluesky, Instagram, and Twitch.
And I am Cater Blossom, also on Bluesky, Instagram, and Twitch.
Next time, we, and by we, I mean Bopo and DiscoCola, will have 2 more secret games to review, and their featured game will be Another Crab's Treasure, a Souls-like adventure developed by AgroCrab. Until then, everyone, keep on playing.